the Sinn 156. A quick review, and it's going to be quick since I've just sold it, so I have to ship this watch off. And why did I sell it? Well, I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's have a quick chat about this little beauty, which I still think it is. Sinn 156 was Sinn's attempt at getting a contract from the German Bundeswehr after Heuer stopped supplying their 1550 SG, also just known as the Bund. They weren't successful. They didn't get any contracts, but from the Bundeswehr. But they did produce this watch for about 10 years, from the mid to late 80s and well into the 90s. And this particular version is from around 1990. And the most interesting thing about this watch is probably the movement, which is a Lemania 5100. And let's just start the chronograph so we can talk about what that actually means. Now, as you know, most chronographs have a sub-dial in the center or somewhere on the dial for the minutes. But the Lemania 5100 is different. The minutes chronograph hand is the airplane-shaped hand that you can see at number 12 now. And you'll see that moving ever so slightly now as the second sweep around the dial, because that tells the minutes, not the sub-dial, which is actually a really, really useful way of designing a chronograph. Personally, I use my chronograph when I cook, and I'm getting a little on, so I have to wear my reading glasses just to see the minute hand in a sub-dial, and with this, I don't. Just a quick glance and you can see exactly how many minutes have passed. And as you can see, we're coming up to a minute now, and the airplane hand beautifully at 1 minute. There we go. So the sub-dial instead shows you at 12 o'clock, it shows you a 24-hour time. On the left, the running seconds, and at the bottom at 6 o'clock, you've got the chronograph's hour hand. So yeah, it's a beautiful little piece, or not so little, I should say. It's 43 millimeters, so not small, but not huge either. I think it's a decent size. The lugs, just 20 millimeters. 22 would have been more harmonious, but you can put it on a notched strap like this one, which is what Sinn does, and I say that because this particular watch was bought in Vienna at Sinn's AD in 2021, and they had restored it, which is why it is in such good condition and keeps really good time. And it's difficult to find ones that are in quite such good condition. Normally you'll see the bezel having a few chips, and there's a tiny one over here, but it's not much. This one looks almost new, and it's a beastly looking thing. As you can see, it even says military on it. There's no nonsense here. Don't mess with this watch. And it has quite a nice patina, this one, the tritium dial. And let's just try to quickly put this on so you can see how that looks. And there we go. You can see it's a pretty big watch, but not huge. My wrist is about 17 centimeters in circumference, and I think that looks absolutely fine. I wouldn't want a bigger one. My preferred size is probably 40 to 42, but this is fine, no problems. So yeah, this is a bit of a classic from Sinn, and the Lemania 5100 central minute hand for the chronograph was the inspiration for the later EZM1 from Sinn, which has been really popular, and they put out a version 1.1 not so long ago, and they have both sold out. And I hope and think that Sinn will use that movement again in that one. It is not a Lemania 5100 because that's not made anymore, so they used a modded Valjoux 7750, where they have moved the chronograph's minute hand to the center. A really, really useful complication, or a way of making a chronograph, and I have another one I'll show you one day that has the same way of showing minutes, which is definitely my preferred way of doing it, and I have a soft spot for these this type of chronograph. There aren't that many of them out there. Most use a sub-dial. So yeah, it's a bit of a special little watches. There are quite a few of them out there, but normally you won't see too many up for sale. Currently, and I'm shooting this in September 2022, you will pay around 2,500 to 3,000 euros for one of these, depending on the state it's in. This one is near the 3,000 euro price mark because it's in really good condition. But interestingly, the person who bought it last year in Vienna, and that wasn't me, I bought it off him, paid significantly less than 2,000. So they've seemed to have really jumped in value. I don't think the Sinn AD in Vienna would sell this much cheaper than was available on, say, Chrono 24. So yeah, they seem to be getting a little bit more popular, just as the Heuer's classic Bund is. But there you go. You can see the chronograph have now swept around a few times. We're at 5 minutes and something, and this watch is getting shipped off. And why am I selling it? Well, I really like this watch. I think it's very harmonious, classic, butch-looking watch with very little nonsense. Because it's pretty busy dial, but everything is there for a reason. I just don't wear it so much. I guess I like something that's a little less military. Just a little more refined, even though I like tool watches. This is, I suppose, well, you don't find them anymore sort of butch or masculine than this one. This is a smidgen too much for me. I like it a little more, just a tiny bit more elegant, I guess. But yeah, it's a beautiful watch, and I've enjoyed owning it for some months. Haven't really worn it much, but I've enjoyed looking at it and playing with this wonderful chronograph. The nonsense meter, let's check it out.